Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen on YouTube. Welcome back. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. Welcome back to the Gospel Truth Channel. How to survive a blood moon again. How to survive a blood moon again. I'm a 20-year Pentecostal evangelist, former Bible college graduate. I have over 100,000 hours of study in the biblical languages, and we're going to get going right now over on Twitter and YouTube, Twitter and Facebook as well. Greetings to all of you there. Greetings to all of you here. And we're talking about how to survive a blood moon again. It seems like we just went through this a few months ago. Oh my God, end of the world. Oh my God, blood moon. Oh my God, tribulation. Oh my God, rapture. OMG, 24/7. And yet here we are again. Oh my God, it's a blood moon. So let me talk to you today about how to survive a blood moon again. Here's what we do. Jeff, I know that you're not going to say to me that the blood moons have nothing to do with Bible prophecy. I know you're not going to say that to me because I know I've read about the moon turning into blood in the Bible, and I know that this has to do with the Bible. You're right. Blood moons have to do with Bible prophecy. And let me show you exactly how they have to do with Bible prophecy. Now, if you're on Twitter or Facebook, you're not going to be able to see the scriptures that I'm breaking down. All you have to do is go over to Jeff Daugherty Show on YouTube, and you can see all the visuals that are being presented. And if you'll go ahead and subscribe while you're there, you can also get notified when I'm going live, so you'll never miss any more of this broadcast excellence. So go over to YouTube, Jeff Daugherty Show, put in Christian Whistleblower, put in Jeff Daugherty, and it'll come right up, and you will be able to see what all of the kind folks over on YouTube are able to see. And here we go. We're talking about the moon turning to blood, because that's what happened last night, and somehow we managed to survive it again. Somehow we managed to survive it again. So let's go ahead and look at this. And it is in Bible prophecy. It's right there. The moon will be turned to blood. The sun will be turned to darkness. The moon will be turned to blood before the coming of the great and glorious day of the Lord. Now, I'm not going to be that picky, because it says the sun's going to go dark first and the moon's going to turn to blood. And it gives the implication within the original language that it's going to happen as a single event. Did the sun come up this morning? Did the sun come up yesterday morning? Has the sun been turned to darkness? Okay, well, we'll just leave that there for a moment. I think those of you that have more than 2 or 3 working brain cells already see that this is silly. But the sun will be turned to darkness and the moon will be turned to blood before the coming of the great and glorious day of the Lord, and everyone who calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Now, the fact that they're extolling the Lord, the fact that they're saying call on the name of the Lord, should clue you into the fact that this is probably not good doctrine. But let's go ahead and compare scripture with scripture and find out what this day of the Lord is they're talking about. Is it the so-called second coming? Is it the rapture? Is it the tribulation? What is this day of the Lord that they're talking about? So the way you do this in the Bible is you compare scriptures with other scriptures. You don't just decide what you believe and then go and try to prove it. Unless your name is L.A. Marzulli. You don't just decide what you believe and then go to find scriptures to prove it unless your name is Scott Clark. But if you really want to find out what the scriptures teach and not just find ammunition for what you believe, This is how you do it. You go into the scriptures and you look everywhere else where it talks about the moon turning to blood. They're called cross references. So Isaiah 13:10, sun goes dark, moon won't raise its light, won't shed its light. Now that gives us some more insight into what the moon turning blood red actually is. Is the moon turning blood red, or is the moon's light affected, causing it to possibly look blood red? We have to look at these things. The sun is turned into darkness, the moon into blood. So it's obvious that Peter, if Peter wrote this up here in Acts chapter 2, verse 20, the sun will be turned to darkness, the moon to blood. It's obvious that Peter was quoting the prophet Joel, or Joel, if you will. The sun will be turned into darkness, the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord. Look who that is. Uh-oh. We're talking about a day of Yahweh. Wow. So that puts us in a whole new perspective, doesn't it? Anyways, Matthew 24. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, sun darkened, moon won't give its light. Stars will fall from heaven, powers of heavens shaken. Wonders in the heavens, signs in the earth. Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. I want you to notice something. Isaiah, Peter, Isaiah, Joel, Acts, they all talk about the moon being turned into blood. The moon not shedding its light. Where do we see the expression of this in the New Testament scriptures? Well, we see it in Matthew 24:29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun's dark and the moon will not give its light. Moon turned blood red, moon won't give its light. It means the same thing, and let me show you why. Let's go ahead and go to Matthew 24:29. I said, let's go to Matthew 24:29. There we go. Matthew 24:29. The moon will not give its light. Stars will fall from the sky. And I want you to go, if we're going to understand this, we're talking about a Matthew 24 sign. And the Marzulis, the Clarks, the people that are all up in arms about the blood moons will agree with me that this does talk about the prophecy of Matthew 24. They will agree with me that it's the prophecy of Matthew 24, where the sun won't give its light. The Son of Man's going to appear in the clouds with power and great glory. They will agree with me about this. What they won't agree with me about is tying the scripture of the moon turning to blood into the event that actually made it turn to blood. Because if you'll notice, before the moon turns blood red, or the moon doesn't give its light, what happens first? The abomination of desolation rises. Now watch this. If you're on Twitter, if you're on YouTube, listen to this. Matthew 24:15 says, when you shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, if you're in Judea, get out. Okay, this is written about somewhere between 50 and 60 AD. And Matthew says to the people reading this in 50 or 60 AD, when you see the abomination of desolation, the one that Daniel talked about, standing where it shouldn't be, if you're in Judea, leave. So it's very clear from what Matthew said that the people that were reading this in AD 60 were going to see this thing called the abomination of desolation, talked about by Daniel, standing in the holy place. And when they saw it, if they were in the environs of Judea, that they should leave. Let me ask you something. How many people do you think are still alive in 2018 that were alive in the year 60? I'll wait. Yeah. 0. So whatever happened to turn the moon blood red, whatever happened to cause the moon not to give its light in the events described in Matthew 24 happened during the lifetime of people that saw whatever Matthew was talking about here in Matthew 24. Well, what was he talking about? What was the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place? Well, let's look at Mark chapter 13, because it's another parallel scripture. Now, Mark says, when you see the abomination of desolation, same thing, right? Same thing, Twitter, same thing, Facebook, same thing, YouTube. When you see the abomination of desolation, again, written about the same time, in the 60s, in the 50s, maybe the 40s, but, same time generally. When you see this abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing where it shouldn't be. Understand what I'm saying, he says. If you're in Judea, get to the mountains. Now he says standing where it shouldn't be. What Matthew said, standing in the holy place, Mark says standing where it shouldn't be. And he says, let him that reads understands. Then let them flee to the mountains. So again, Matthew says, look, guys, when you see this abomination of desolation, where it shouldn't be, in the holy place, if you're in Judea, leave. Again, Mark is saying, you people that I'm talking to, you people that are reading this, will see this abomination of desolation standing in the holy place, a place where it shouldn't be. Understand what I'm saying to you. And that's key when we look at the next verse. If you're in Judea, get the hell out. How many people that read Mark's words in 40, 50, 60 AD are still alive? I'll wait. Yeah, that's the same number, 0. So whatever it is that caused the moon to turn blood red, or the moon not to give its light in Matthew 24, in Mark 13, followed whatever this abomination of desolation was, which the people alive in 80, 50, 60 saw with their own eyes. Whatever causes the moon to turn blood red is not something that we will see because we weren't alive in 80, 50, 40, 60. But let's get to the bottom of this. What is the thing? The abomination of desolation. Standing in the holy place, Matthew said. Standing where it shouldn't be, Mark says. And let him that reads understands, which means let him do a little bit of study. Let him look at what Matthew said about this. Let him look at what Mark said about this. And let him look at what Luke said about this. For when you will see Jerusalem surrounded with armies, know that its desolation is near. Then let the people which are in Judea flee to the mountains. When you see Jerusalem surrounded with armies, when you see Jerusalem surrounded with armies, its desolation is near. When you see the abomination of desolation standing where it should not, when you see the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place where it should not stand is Jerusalem. The abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, Matthew, Mark, Luke, says it's Jerusalem surrounded with armies. Jerusalem surrounded with armies. And I want you to see that it was, in fact, as we go back to Matthew 24, it was Jerusalem surrounded by armies, Jerusalem burned to the ground. The tribulation of Jerusalem being burned to the ground. That's why the sun was darkened, from the smoke of Jerusalem being burned to the ground. That's why the moon didn't give its light, because of the smoke of Jerusalem being burned to the ground. That's why the moon seemed to turn blood red, because of the smoke of Jerusalem being burned to the ground. And just in case you don't want to believe it was Rome, well, we'll throw you a bone and say it's where the eagles are gathered. What was the symbol of Rome? I'll wait. Ladies and gentlemen, what you have just seen is the biblical interpretation of the blood moons as a sign of prophecy. And biblically, prophetically speaking, the blood moons have nothing more to do with biblical prophecy. The implication of blood moons and biblical prophecy ended in AD 70 with the destruction of Jerusalem. This blood moon that we just had means the same thing prophetically, Bible prophecy, as the last blood moon that we had, and the one before that, 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 and every one of them up to that day. I believe it was in September, maybe October of AD 70, when Jerusalem was burned to the ground. And the moon was turned blood red because of the smoke and the fire. And the sun didn't give its light because of the smoke and the fire. That's the last time that any blood moon had anything to do with biblical prophecy. And the only reason that you believe that blood moons continue to have some significance in biblical prophecy is because you've been duped by the Jesuits for some 500 years. As soon as we get finished with this broadcast, go on your favorite search engine and put in Father Francisco Ribera. You will find that this nice Jesuit priest in the 16th century, that's about 500 years ago, was the very first person to say that any prophecy was future from 500 AD. He's the one that said that there would be a future tribulation, this Jesuit priest. He's the one that said there'd be a rapture, this Jesuit priest. He's the one that said the temple would be rebuilt, this Jesuit priest. He's the one that said the two witnesses would be in the future, this Jesuit priest. He's the one that said the Antichrist will be in the future, this Jesuit priest. He's the one that said the Antichrist won't be the Pope, it'll be some future boogeyman. And the reason he wrote his book, he was one of the leaders of what's called the Counter-Reformation movement. Well, Jeff, how come no one else believes what you're teaching? Have you ever heard of a guy named Martin Luther? Have you ever heard of Tyndale? Have you ever heard of Wycliffe? Have you ever heard of Wesley? Every single one of the Protestant reformers believed what I've just showed you here today. And it wasn't until the Jesuits themselves in the 16th century, 500 years ago, created all these fairy tales that anyone believed it. And how funny it is that the Counter-Reformation doctrine is now the doctrine of the so-called Protestant church. And I discovered something very interesting. It's really not the church people that are being infected with this. I have two daughters that are still very much in the church, especially my older one. And I asked her, do you know who L.A. Marzulli is? No. Do you know who Scott Clark is? No. You ever hear the September 23, Revelation 12 sign? No. Ever hear the blood moons? No. You see, even in Pentecostal, right-wing, evangelical Christianity, they're not really talking about this stuff. They're not really talking about this stuff. The only people that are talking about this stuff are the Christian truthers, the Marzulli Clark crowd. They're the people talking about this. And I have to make an apology to the Pentecostal people. For many years, I've said that the Pentecostal people are the most gullible people on the face of planet Earth. I owe them an apology because the Pentecostal people are not the most gullible people on the face of planet Earth. It's the Christian truthers. The Christian truthers make the Pentecostals look balanced. The Christian truthers make the Pentecostals look rational. The Christian truthers make the Pentecostals look like scholars. Because it's the Christian truthers that are believing the Jesuit doctrine. And not only that, they're combining it with the Jesuit doctrine. That's right. Let's get some old Judaism and let's combine it with some new Jesuitism. And let's come up with this thing called eschatology. And let's confuse a bunch of people. And shame on you if you believe Marzulli. Shame on you if you believe Clark. Shame on you if you believe eschatology. Shame on you if you buy any of this future temple, rebuilt temple, future rapture, future tribulation, future two witnesses, future head chopping. Shame on you. Because it just means, yes, shame on you, Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. It just means you haven't taken time to read for yourself and do some very rudimentary comparison of scripture with scripture like we just have. It means you're ignorant of the fact that for 1,500 years, no one believed this garbage. You should be ashamed of yourself because you didn't know it was a Jesuit that invented it. I take it back. You shouldn't be ashamed of yourself. If you didn't know it, now you know. If you didn't realize it, now you realize it. You should only be ashamed of yourself if you continue to believe it, having been shown the reality of Bible prophecy. How to survive a blood moon? Go out and look at it. Take it in. It's a very interesting astronomical event. And if you're really a deep person, you might consult someone like Heidi Vandenberg for the astrological implications, possible astrological implications of that blood moon for your particular astrology. Because though the blood moons have absolutely nothing to do with biblical prophecy anymore since AD 70, it's very possible that the blood moons do have some astronomical significance, some astrological significance for individual people as it moves through your houses. That's possible. But this Jesuit garbage that Marzulli and Clark and that whole crowd are pitching you is foolishness, it's stupidity, it's bad doctrine, and it's dangerous doctrine. And if you continue to follow it, you've moved from ignorant means I didn't know, into stupid, which means I know, but I continue to do it anyway. As that great American philosopher, Forrest Gump, said, stupid is as stupid does. How to survive a blood moon again. Same way you survived every single one of them since that fateful day in AD 70, where the moon was turned blood red by the smoke ascending from the destroyed Jerusalem. That's what the scriptures teach. I know that won't excite you. I know that won't tickle your little ears. I know that's not going to make you want to rush out and buy my book, but guess what? It's the truth anyway. And I know that if I played the game a little bit and tickled you a little bit and made it a little more sensationalistic, I'd have more than 11,000 subscribers. But see, I've got something that they don't. I've got my pride. I've got my integrity. I've got my honesty. And I'll be able to stand before whomever and wherever and know that I've retained my integrity and I've brought to you information that will set you free. Because it's not the truth that sets you free. The scriptures say you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. My part's getting you to know the truth. Your part is accepting it and setting yourself free. So let me step down off my soapbox without twisting my ankle and go over here to the chat room. You've listened to me for some 20 some odd minutes. Let me listen to you, what you've said, and I'll try to remember to keep looking up now and again to catch the folks on Twitter. Gary Baxter says L.A. Cucaracha. That's horrible. Who made that up? L.A. Cucaracha. Who said that? Same guy that said L-A-Z-Y Marzulli. Who was that rascal? The moon showing now beautifully, but Jeff, they reverse engineered. I don't know what that means. Gary, blood moon seems like a good excuse for an interesting party. It's the Russians. Absolutely, it's the Russians. That's why it's red. Russian dressing, it's red. But Becky says, who's feeling the effects of the supermoon? You will have effects of it astrologically, astronomically. You'll have effects of it, just from the gravitational aspect. So yes, there will be effects of it. I felt it last night. Good afternoon. What is the name of the Lord? Lord, Yahweh. I'll give you the name of the Lord, angel of death. The name of the Lord is Yahweh, Jehovah, Marduk, Yaldabaoth, and my personal favorite, Rat Bastard, because he was created by Sophia without her male consort. So he really is a bastard, and he's been a liar and a murderer from the beginning. So I personally like to call him Rat Bastard. That's who he is. What do you call him, Rooney? Huh? That's what you call him? Really? You want to come over here and tell everyone what you call the Lord? Come here. Rooney, tell the people what you call the Lord. What do you call the Lord? Do you call him Rat Bastard? Look over here at the people. Look at the people. They think you're cute with your red eyes. That's Rooney, the official mascot of NCK, the Christian Whistleblower. Sorry about that. That's the name of the Lord. I was distracted. Can we get a Rod question at the end of the show? Maybe. Everyone's waiting for a sign that's not coming. You're absolutely right, Doc Illusion. Can I pass this video on to Jack Van Imp and John Hagee? Oh, they want to make some money. Yeah. How many blood moons have we had? Exactly. Yes, you sure can. Matthew 24 states that the moon has its very own light, not that it reflects the sun. No, it doesn't, Gary. Come on, man. You're reaching. It says that it's blocked out by smoke. That's before the reptilians took over the moon. Oh, my. I think I met a vampire at the bar on the moon back in the day. Now, that's interesting. Cooking dinner and listening. Thank you, Deanne. Listening to the show. I won't be in the chat room. Okay. Anybody got any V8? Don't wait too long, Jeff. I'm not sure what that was in reference to. Help Jeff's channel grow. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you. And please do. I haven't seen anyone ask a question on Twitter or YouTube yet, or Facebook. Keep up the faith, Jeff. Remember that Christ himself is watching you. The Christ might be watching. That's possible. 2 more months till your birthday. Not mine. Good evening. Good evening. 8070 Titus. That's correct. Absolutely. It's interesting to see the angel of death saying, peace be unto you all. Thank you for doing the word that inspires and empowers. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate that very much. There's no holy place anymore. Nope, it's been destroyed. Good evening, everyone. Hello, Sandra D. Roman descendant, Pax Romanus. I've heard about the blood moon connections with biblical prophecy. Well, that's what you call baloney, foolishness, ridiculousness, no connection with the blood moons and biblical prophecy since AD 70. It is, Jen asked, is it Jesuit doctrine or just people seeking signs? Yes, it's both. It is Jesuit doctrine, and it's a Jesuit doctrine that inspired people to seek after signs. And it's very interesting. Christ said something about people that seek after signs. Let me rack my brain. Let me rack my brain. In fact, let me show you what he said, because if I said it, you won't believe me. You will not believe me if I just tell you what he said. But if I show you what he said, maybe you'll believe me. Oh, look at this. This is interesting. This is what he said. The Christ himself said, and it's interesting, he even said, oh, it's red. In the morning, they say, today it's red. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but not the signs of the times. Listen to who is seeking a sign, Jen, and everyone else that's listening tonight. Who seeks after a sign? A wicked and an adulterous generation seeks after signs. King James says seeks after signs, not demands a sign. So yeah, a wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign. So let me ask you, those of you that are seeking after the signs, let me ask Mr. Marzulli, let me ask Mr. Clark, are you wicked, bro? Or are you adulterous? Because the Christ said, if you're seeking signs, you're one or the other. No wonder they won't debate me. How can they possibly answer a question such as that one? Christ was Gnostic and pagan. I don't believe that's true, but Gnostic and pagan belief came out of the teachings of the Christ. I do believe he wanted nothing to do with the Altar Bayoff. Getting real with Jeff Daugherty, says Becky Taylor. Thank you. Do I get a prize? Oh, and by the way, I did a show yesterday which said I'm only going to work with 11 people on the LIFETRACK repair and analysis. I wasn't saying there's going to be like a tryout or something. I'm just going to take the first 11 people because I can only work with 11 people at a time. We're working 11 people for 7 weeks to repair your LIFETRACK analysis. Look at the video that says, it's your mind, own it, and go to jeffdaugherty.com, click on Get Help Now, and go through that process. There's already 2 people that are involved. So actually 3 people, my bad. So if you want to be one of the next 8 people that I work with over the next 7 weeks, let a brother know. I like Doomsday. It's like a holiday that comes randomly. Absolutely. I saw a brilliant super blood moon a few years ago in the Lake District at a party. I bet it was beautiful, Lee. They are a beautiful astronomical sign. You're right, Jeff. The Christ said there will be no signs. In fact, the Pharisees, the religious folks, came to the Christ and said, what will be the sign of your coming? And then Christ very specifically said to them, there will be no outward signs of my coming. There will be no outward signs. But yet Marzulli and Clark and LaHaye and Jenkins and Hagee and all the rest of these wicked and or adulterous, money-grubbing Jewish pawns, Jesuit pawns, keep pitching, look for the signs. Do you think they haven't read that scripture? I think they have. Perhaps their consciences are seared with a hot iron. Or maybe they just want that money. Yeah. I don't know. Was this message approved by Francisco Ribera? No, it was not. Ribera was a crypto Jew. Actually, I don't know if Ribera was, but the head of the Jesuit order, Loyola, what was his first name? Ignatius of Loyola. He definitely was a Jewish person pretending that he's not a Jewish person. I don't know if Ribera, and the same can be said about Ribera. It's possible. It's curious to me that all the moons have been labeled super or blood over the past couple of years. This was never the case when I was younger. Where did this come from? Sandra D., where this came from was YouTube. What makes a better video title? Super Blood Moon. It's all about getting clicks, yo. And I want you to click on my videos too, don't get me wrong. I want you to watch my videos too, don't get me wrong. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to cheat you. I'm not going to steal from you. I'm not going to preach Jesuit, bad doctrine to you just to get more subscribers. I'm going to give it to you real. I'm going to give it to you straight and let the chips fall where they may. Loyola Jesuits, exactly right. Don't forget about Calvin, exactly. John Calvin. It's just a prank, bro. What's a prank, bro? Do you believe the moon brings a new energy to us? The moon does bring energy to us, absolutely. It came because the color is red. I'm not sure what that means. Lunarum Ordinem Sanguis. Blue moon's nothing new in Latin. Oh, I like that. Oh, I should put that on a t-shirt. Oh, wouldn't that be awesome? Anton, will you email that to me at Jeffrey Darty or at Christian Whistleblower? Email that to me at christianwhistleblower@gmail.com, please. Do they actually believe what they preached, Jeff? Anya, I don't know if they believe it or not. I believe they believe it'll get them more YouTube followers. I believe they believe it'll get them a bigger check from YouTube at the end of the month for advertising. I believe they believe that it will help them sell more books. I believe they believe that it will help them sell more videos. I believe they believe that it will help their bank account. But do they really believe what they preach? I think if we're going to talk about Marzulli and Clark, I think Clark does. I think Clark is just in over his head and doesn't know it yet. I think Marzulli is crooked as a dog's hind leg. And I still stand ready to debate him. And I wouldn't have brought that unless somebody asked me. Pope Francis is a Jesuit. How interesting is that? The very first Jesuit Pope. You are all energized, more gullible than the Mormons. Yes, I would say so. Anya. ETs are demons because we don't understand them. Yeah, right. Is that what LA says? Well, that's stupid if it is. I took Latin for 2 years. Silver bullets for werewolves may help. That might actually be true. Well, we're glad you didn't get killed in traffic today, Anya. Did this blood moon change your life in any way? Not mine. I did get up and look at it. It was kind of cool. I think they're actually really cool. Louder, Jeff, for the people on the last row. Seriously, I need to be louder? Or are you joking with me? I think you might be joking with me. Jesuits are still very much in power. Absolutely. Yep, they're preaching the end of the world again, still. The problem is eschatology is ingrained in all walks of life. Absolutely. That's why we got to ungrain it. Marzulli's elongated skulls. Yeah. I'm not sure that that's legit either, but. All right. I'm just trying to get to it here. I want to make sure I get all the questions. And that's it. She was joking. I thought so. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there we go. How to survive a blood moon again. You know, I've only been in this realm for about 4 or 5 years. And man, I'm getting tired. I miss more raptures since I came out of the church than I did before the church. Man, these Christian truthers got more raptures than the Pentecostals got. Oh my goodness. Does LA have a presser in February? What the hell does that mean? It's covered because we're not using it right now, Deborah. Michelle, send me information about LA's presser. I will go to his press conference. If that brother's having a press conference, I'm there. What a show that would make. Who wants to hold the camera? That's the only question I have. If L.A. Marzulli's having a press conference, I'm there. In fact, if L.A. Marzulli, I got to find out where he's preaching. Next time he's preaching something or doing something, I'm crashing it. I'm going to ask him some questions. Oh, yeah. Or is that just stirring up the pot for no good reason? I don't know, but it sounds like fun. Somebody find out L.A. Marzulli's schedule. Send it to me. ChristianWhistleBlower@gmail.com. Somebody send me his information. That sounds like fun, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. I am Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. I'm here to help you ask questions, question answers. I'm here to help you guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, be your own guru. I'm here, simply put, to help you unindoctrinate yourself.